All right. Welcome to the show. I have on Bryant Suellentrop. Bryant is the CEO of Elevate and Delegate, which is a virtual assistant hiring business. So thanks so much for joining me. Welcome to the show, Bryant.
Hey, Nick, of course. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So could you give us a little background on, Elevate and Delegate, exactly what it is, how you got started, and, what your day-to-day looks like?
Sure, of course. In March, April, May-ish of 2020, I started a commercial cleaning service. It's kind of coming out of the pandemic. I was doing outside sales before that, and when the pandemic happened, kind of stopped doing that because you weren't allowed to go and see anyone, right? So I kind of left that job, moved halfway across the country. I was living in Kansas. I moved to North Carolina. And didn't really have any money, but I moved out here because this is where my wife is from, and she was going to school out here. So moved out here, started a cleaning business because it was like the most affordable thing I could do. If I had, somewhere to put a lawnmower at my apartment, I probably would have done lawn care. I really didn't have any thesis behind it. I just wanted to start making some money. So started a cleaning business. It went pretty well, started to grow pretty fast, landed my first customer off of a Google My Business listing. That was a $2,000 a month customer. So then I was kind of in business, right? And so then I found the next $1,500 a month customer and so on and so forth, right? Did all the cleaning myself, all that kind of stuff. And as I was scaling and growing, hiring employees, learning all those many tough lessons, I was having a lot of issues recruiting cleaners. Now, the labor market's always tough, always hard to find good people, but particularly in cleaning and particularly at that point in time, everybody was hiring, wages were increasing a lot. And so what I did was a friend of mine said, hey, you should look at hiring some offshore help. I said, offshore help? What do you mean? He said, go to the Philippines and recruit somebody to help you with your business. I said, what's the Philippines? And so he helped me show me how to hire somebody overseas. And that person worked basically as a full-time recruiter in my small little business. Obviously would not have been able to afford to have someone stateside do that. But that's what helped us basically, tap into more labor and eventually more customers, and helped us kind of grow and scale and get some stability. So that's how I got into, hiring some offshore help. And it's been an integral part of multiple, both my businesses kind of since then. And so I started to help friends with that process, right? And then I was doing that for free, and that was great. But over time, realized okay, I'm spending more time helping my friends hire virtual assistants, as some people call them, or offshore team members. And I think I need to focus on this more, right? This is a real business here. So we've been, running and gunning, doing a lot of that this year, and helped over 135 business owners hire offshore talent this year, and it's been a great time. A lot of happy business owners, a lot of happy people overseas to get jobs, and so that's kind of how I got into this, and a little bit about what we do.
Yeah, awesome. And so are you still running that cleaning business, or have you shifted everything over to the VA business now?
Yeah, 99% of my working energy is focused on this staffing business. The cleaning business, it still operates. We still have people that work in that business. We still have customers. Still makes money. I still cash the checks every month. Don't get me wrong. But it's the closest thing to a form of passive income as you could probably see, besides stocks or something. Because I have someone overseas that helps me kind of run the admin side of that business. Now, if we were going to try and grow that business like crazy, I'd have to step in again. But with our current clientele and all that stuff, it's been really solid to run it without me being involved in the day-to-day.
Yeah, totally. And is the headache less with the VA business because you're not dealing with, labor and services and things like that? Because there's a lot that can go wrong, I imagine, in the cleaning business, right? If something's not cleaned right or someone doesn't show up on time, there's a lot of variables there.
Yeah, I mean, there's different kinds of headaches that you're dealing with, right? Obviously, when you're, working in a cleaning business, the biggest thing that's difficult is when just cleaners don't show up or they quit or whatever. That's really tough. but you get through it and you learn how to make it better and you build systems. I'll say all in all, like, yes, this business is a little bit less headaches for me for sure. But it's also just a lot more fun because I get to spend time talking to business owners every day about like, hey, how can we improve your business basically by, helping you hire some offshore talent. So it's been a great change for me. And I'm excited to keep doing it. So.
Yeah, totally. And so how does the exact process work with the sourcing, right? So a business owner will come to you, right? And then where does it go from there?
Oh, absolutely. So what we do is we kind of assess their business needs, right? We need to talk to them about what are your actual needs? Where are you hurting in your business? Where are the pain points? Like what is your limit to maybe scaling revenue to the next stage, or maybe it's operational stuff that you just want to hone in and focus on a little bit more. Where do you actually need the help? So some people are very clear. They say, I need a bookkeeper. So we're like, okay, well, absolutely find you a bookkeeper. Some people say, I just need my time back. So then we have to do a little bit more asking them questions, kind of like helping getting to the root of where we can find someone to help them. And so from there, we craft a specific job description that is, specific to that role. There's nothing generic about it, right? Even if they say, oh, I just want a bookkeeper, we need to make sure that we're recruiting a bookkeeper that has, knowledge of whichever software they're using, whether that's Xero or QuickBooks or Wave apps. There's so many different options. And so we take that to market. We use a series of paid job boards, unpaid job boards. We have a huge referral network of people that we've, obviously helped get jobs, and all of their friends and family and, cousins and aunts and uncles and stuff who want a good opportunity. So that referral network, and then we have a Facebook group with like 20,000 people in it, all looking for jobs. And what that comes out to, it's great. There's a lot of talent out there, but what it comes down to is a lot of vetting, right? So from posting that job description, we're going to get 1,000 resumes, right? We're going to get some obscene amount of people that apply. And so I actually have 7 people that work with me full time there in the Philippines, and they help us go through these resumes, right? And so from, let's say, 500 resumes, we read that down to maybe 30 or 50 who we vet a lot more heavily. We make sure that they have great English speaking skills, can communicate effectively, and make sure that they have a backup Wi-Fi solution, power solution, all those kinds of things, right? And then as well as all the technical skills that they need. And do a personality test, personality assessment then too. So really like getting the person into the process of 500 people down to 30 to 50, and then we weed it down to about 3. And those would be the 3 that we present to the clients. Those would be, we present them a series of information about each one, really a folder that has videos of them speaking and all these different things that the client can look at as reference points, including things like resumes, of course, to say, hey, you got Jackie, Jill, and Sarah here. I want to talk to all 3 of them and see if they, see which one would be a good fit. Or they might say, I want to talk to Jackie and Jill, but not as keen on Sarah. So let's do a final interview with the other 2. So we say, absolutely. We set that up. We walk them through that interview, and then whoever they're excited about working with from there, then we would help them onboard. We operate only as a headhunting agency, so we don't really take any kind of ongoing fees or anything like that. So they get to work with the client directly, which always works better for the client as well as the individual who's working for them. Just a much better relationship, not to have like a middleman into that long term. So
totally. Is that tempting though a little bit? Because then you'd have like recurring revenue if you did take a cut out of it.
For sure.
But you decided not to go that route, right?
Yeah, there's lots of people making millions and millions of dollars doing it that way. And I definitely, I see the value there. Every business model has its pros and its cons. But I mean, the cool thing for us is we've now had the opportunity to work with several companies several times, right? So for us, like, I'd rather deliver a really amazing individual and then they come back to us later and say they want to hire somebody else, right? And so then we help them hire 2, 3, 4, 5 people. That's where we want to be. Because I just, I'm like I don't know if you know what AppSumo is, but like I buy software there. It's like one time, you don't have to, no reoccurring pricing, that kinds of stuff. And so I'm a really big believer in that, and just like paying for something once and then it's yours, right?
Yeah.
We try and focus on that. And so I think everybody's just happier that way.
Yeah.
But certainly attempting to want to do like a recurring revenue of some kind.
Totally. Because like I'm working on a SaaS app right now, right? And me and my co-founder have gone back and forth, right? Like it would be awesome to put it out on AppSumo, maybe get a bunch of lifetime deals, but then you're kind of stuck, right? Like then you don't have that reoccurring to try to sell it on, or to continuously making money. But I think it's a lot different, right, in this kind of business than a software application or something that has ongoing costs to it.
Software's different because you do have more ongoing costs, and you have you still have amazing margins if you're doing it right, especially if you hit scale, obviously with software. But with software, you're always building, right? You're always like got to improve the product because it has to keep up with all of the other new products and services that are out there. So you really need that revenue to keep going, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not buying something once; they're really buying your support in perpetuity, right? So
yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And so when business owners come to you, what's like the most often position that you typically fill? And then what are like some other ones that maybe they come and maybe it's just not the right fit for a VA, right? Because there are positions that it wouldn't make sense to have someone overseas in, right? So what's like the most common one you fill, and then ones that like just don't really make sense?
Yeah, we're transitioning all of our copy right now to reflect not calling them virtual assistants, but calling them offshore team members. The reason that we're doing that is because the roles that they can fulfill are pretty technical in nature, generally. We hire a lot of virtual assistant type, like generalist individuals. That's probably about 35% of the hires that we make. And so those would be people operating in a variety of tasks. Maybe they spend half their time doing bookkeeping, but 25% doing customer service. The other 25% is biz dev, right? So I call that person a generalist. But outside of those, we hire a lot of bookkeepers, a lot of like video and photo editors. We hire a lot of social media managers. We hire lots of marketing people and business development help. We hire people to help you keep your CRM updated. We hire a lot of different individuals in different tasks of people's business, as much as, we've hired financial analysts for people. And so it gets more technical, right? We've even hired software developers for sure. Just different, all kinds of roles that we're hired for. And the good thing is that the hiring process is collaborative, right? So we pull the client in at the end, right, to do that final interview and to really make sure that they have everything they need. And we also back that with a guarantee. So especially for these technical roles, like if for any reason they're not an amazing fit, like we guarantee to find someone that is. So that's kind of how we're able to find a variety of roles.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. And, at my last company I was at, right, we definitely needed a lot more help. In my opinion, we definitely could have used some offshore teammates. But the founder of the company was very against it. He really wanted, everyone to be, here in the States or, within a certain, amount of distance from our office. What are like some myths do you think about offshore teammates, that, business owners like shy away and they've said, we couldn't use them, but like they probably could?
Lots of good questions there. Lots of good things to think about. I think a lot of people think maybe it's not secure. And there's a lot of ways that you can mitigate, fraud and, security issues, right? Same ways that you mitigate a lot of the risk with your own team members is the same way that you would do it with them. You can also do things like a remote computer where, maybe their computer and everything that they're operating on is actually hosted in, Austin, Texas or wherever, but they're just toggling in from their desktop. So they're just getting like a mirror and none of the data is actually stored on their computer. That's a great situation to be in, right? Because then you can easily shut that off if you ever wanted to or needed to. Security is not that's not like the biggest issue with hiring remote team members for a lot of these roles. They don't really need access to a lot of sensitive data. But that's definitely one of them. I think a lot of people think that like all team members are the same, right? So, there's different places where you can go and you can hire like a virtual assistant or whatever. And a lot of people have this thing where they say like, oh, well, I'm going to put them through these like crazy like process where it's like, I'm going to have them do these like 50 different steps, you know, and of these 1,000 applicants, whoever completes all 50 steps, I know that they're going to be a great candidate. And I just don't think that's true, right? Because like the best candidates aren't sitting here filling out your 50-point checklist where they have to put a special word in the email reply to you. You know what I'm talking about? People try and put through games, and I would never do that to someone in the States, like to try and put them like through, like to trick them, right?
Yeah.
So why people do that with their offshore teammates is just, it's very silly to me. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think that's probably a take that some people would be frustrated with. But when you do a real vetting process, when you do a real interviewing process, you don't have to do that. And the English, right? That's another big myth. It's like,
I wanted to touch on that.
They can't really speak great English. They absolutely can. I mean, freaking most of my team speaks much better English than most of the people I talk to in the States. So, so that's definitely not an issue, especially in the Philippines. They have two national languages. One is Tagalog, and the other one is English. So they're literally taught English from their grade school years, and it's spoken within a lot of their households. So, my team doesn't speak in their native, like they speak in English in all of our Slack channels and everything. They have no issue. So,
totally,
that's another big, misconception.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I think most people are afraid of, someone calling their business, right? And then it sounds like, they're getting put into an offshore call center, which, they don't want to portray that's happening. But from what I understand, and, I had Stetson Stallworth on here last week. He spoke very highly of your service, but I know that I saw him break down some of the clients the offshore team members that he had spoken to. And he mentioned that, some of them had like really, really great spoken English. They all spoke English, right? But you can definitely tell a difference in like, some of them don't have as much of an accent. Some like don't have an accent at all. Some have a, thick accent. So I guess that goes on with, hiring the right one, and finding that right teammate, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tons of people have accents in the U.S. too. So even if it's slight, like that's usually okay. But
yeah, totally. So can you, and you can skip this question if you want, but can you speak to any like numbers of your business or ballpark?
Well, just from a capacity standpoint, like I said, we've made over 135 hires this year. So it's been really exciting. And our goal is to hire over 10,000, help 10,000 businesses to hire offshore team members over the next 10 years, right? So in our first year, we've been able to do 135. I'm hoping next year we can do 300 or so, so that's kind of like the goal, right?
Yeah.
As far as like, that's how I measure everything. Revenue numbers they're fine, but like it's not really descriptive of what we're getting done as an organization. And so that's what that's what I focus on with my team as we grow, and continue to like make more and more hires as time goes on, because we're building the capacity. And like I said, I have 7 people that work full time for me over in the Philippines. So it's like, we're busy, man. But it's really
totally. And can you speak a little bit more to that? Like, I know your goal there, right, is 10,000. Like, what are you like most excited about, or what are you, scaling and, focusing on? I know you mentioned your copy, you're changing a little bit, to try to, change that into, offshore teammates, but like, what's going to get you there?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing more content just like everybody else, just like this podcast and all that kind of fun stuff. We just revamped our whole website. That's going to release in the next week or so. It's be exciting. And it reflects, like I said, not virtual assistants, but offshore team members, which is great. And honestly, I'm just excited to get 2 things. One is just like a ton more referrals. Like, referrals are such an important part of our business, because when it comes to B2B services, people want to work with somebody they can trust. And at a core level, that's kind of, a lot of people like Twitter, because you get real recommendations from real people that have real names behind them. And that's basically, Twitter is a big referral network in a lot of ways. That's what makes it so great, is there's a lot of built trust there. And so I want to see us do, have more and more referrals. I think that would be great. And continue to build relationships with customers who, they want to make you know, 10 hires or something like that, right? Like that's awesome for us because we can build like much more of a relationship with them, and help, more people overseas. The other thing is I don't want to just focus on corporate clients. I think the other cool thing that I see is like, especially over the last few years, there's so many solopreneurs or small creators or small business owners, not to use like a buzzword with creator, but all of these individuals, like you might, like some of them are making, let's say they're having a lot of success. They make 70 grand a year, 80 grand a year, with their little LLC. Well, like they don't have the money to hire like a $40,000 a year admin person to like run their stuff. But if they can hire an overseas teammate for 12 grand a year and get back 20 to 25 hours a week of their time, or maybe 30 to 40, that's a really big quality of life improvement for them, and also is going to free them up to do more opportunities to make more money. So I really like, as much as I like working with the larger corporations, I really also like working with the solopreneurs and the small businesses, because they get a lot out of the service.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Is there any clients that you've had that you're like, oh, like I made it, like this is pretty sick?
Yeah, I mean, Liam Kircher is somebody that I helped early on, show him kind of like how to hire a virtual assistant and hire some offshore help for his cleaning business. And I mean, that dude was working 60-hour weeks before just on his cleaning business. And now that he's got some help, like with the admin stuff and recruiting cleaners, like his quality of life went way the frick up, like just really dramatically improved. As far as like how many hours he was working, but also he was able to start an entirely new business on top of his current business, which is his coaching program, Cleaning from Zero, which is awesome. And there's a lot of people that are having a lot of success with this program. Actually, Stetson, I think, is one of them. But yeah, I mean, that's like an amazing example, because like it's taken his business like through the roof, basically.
Totally.
So that makes me really happy, and he's a good friend of mine, so that's awesome too.
Yeah, that's sweet. And so one thing I did want to ask you about, so obviously you've grown a pretty, I would call a substantial following on Twitter. How did all of that come to fruition? Have you, and when did you start, on Twitter?
Let's see. I think back in fall of 2020, maybe? I'm not sure. I'd have to go back.
It hasn't been that long.
Fall of 2020, Nick Huber posted on his podcast that I listened to religiously. He's actually the original inspiration for me starting my cleaning business. Didn't know about all these cleaning guys on Twitter or anything like that. Like I said, just wanted to start something to make some scratch, like make some money. And so Nick Huber told, he said, get on Twitter. I'm making like tons of amazing connections. I'm like, okay, I'll log on to Twitter, blah, blah, blah. So I started like following him, and then following Moses Kagan and other people that he's talking to, and like chiming in, trying to reply a little bit, talk a little bit about the things I'm struggling with, the things I'm dealing with. And at first on Twitter, it was mostly like just therapeutic, like just being able to talk to other business owners who are dealing with a lot of the same crap that I am, as a business owner, people calling out, customer issues. Hey, can you give me some advice here and there? And that's really what it became about. And I think I like, when you say like I grew a following and stuff, I've done some things to like try and get more followers, like posting threads and stuff. But if you look back, I've posted very little threads. What I have done for the most part is just tried to be kind to people, tried to make friends, and just like help people out where I can. I think that goes a lot further than people think on Twitter, just because, people like to hang out with people that they like, Yeah. And I think if you ask a lot of the people that follow me on Twitter or whatever, they would just say, yeah, I like that guy. He's a nice dude. They wouldn't say like, oh, I want to learn all these like business lessons from him or whatever. So I think there's different ways to approach like building a following or whatever. At the end of the day, Twitter is just about like the connections, right? And I've made a ton of good friends there too, which is just amazing. I've had lunch with several people that I've met on Twitter. And now that I live in Charlotte, there's a bunch of people here that, I've met there too. So really cool, man. And I just encourage anybody who's thinking about like posting on Twitter and stuff, just give it a shot. And don't focus on like creating content per se, just share bits and pieces about your day, and at first maybe no one will like it or whatever, but it just takes one larger account, like checking it out and, thinking it's thoughtful. So.
Yeah, totally. And how instrumental do you think, like the growth of your business and probably a lot of leads that you get, right? Because I imagine when you get a lead from Twitter or from a referral, right, your cost of acquisition is basically nothing at that point, right? Which is how you can grow a business a lot quicker than if you have to spend a ton on acquisition.
Yeah, so what I would say about this is that is true for sure. It's definitely a good way to like get referrals and get business and people that have been like that come through Twitter, they know what I'm about. They know, like, they trust me. They understand what we're trying to do here. And I think that's important, right? Because people do, I don't want to say people buy from people, but they do. They kind of buy from, they don't like to buy from these like corporate brands and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so just having a face and building a relationship with your customers, I think is important. I'm copied on every single email that goes out in my organization, so people can always get my attention. Everybody has my phone number. So that's something that I think is just really important, is that like I'm at the face of this, but I also like I back up everything that we do. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I would say is just when it comes to, generating business, Twitter is a great place. And this is what I would encourage people to do, like focus on with it. Great place to validate your product or service. It's not necessarily a great place to scale. Like, because then if you try to scale on Twitter, you're going to be forced into doing weird things like just posting like a thread every single week and like trying to like be clickbaity and have all this like engagement bait, which is like, it's fine. And that's a game to play, but certainly people lose respect for you when you do stuff like that. So what I would encourage people to do is like get validation, get proof of concept, meet people who can share, can teach you things about your business to improve it. I got to give a shout out to Max Clark. He recently worked with us to find somebody, and he gave me some very, very valuable feedback on our systems and processes. And we're implementing that in our business. A regular customer probably isn't going to do that, but Max cares and he wants to make our business better. And so we're taking that to heart. So what I would say is like validate through Twitter, and then, you got to use other, all of the other business development tools to scale, whether that's partnerships, cold email, there's LinkedIn, other content, right? So that's kind of how most service businesses or something like that could hit scale. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think you also have to enjoy it, right? Like if you're going for the clickbaity stuff every single day or trying to write threads and stuff, it's exhaustive. And like there was a point where I was like trying to make a point to do that all the time. It's just like I wake up every morning like, I got to come up with something to post today, and like just not looking forward to it, right? So I think there's something to be said there, right? Like you got to enjoy it. And like when I see you tweet, it looks like you genuinely like, responding to stuff, and it's like super interesting stuff that you're, responding to.
Appreciate it, Nick. Yeah, mostly this is like all of us now. It's just mostly a lot of friends hanging out, just having a good time. Mm-hmm. And what I would say, is like, don't try and create content. Just like try to do something interesting, and then just talk about that. And don't I got a lot of people paying attention to me from talking about a cleaning business. It's kind of played out now. A lot of people have talked about so it's a little boring now, but people were interested in that just because it's something different from what their day-to-day is. So
and they don't know exist, right? Like that's one of the coolest things with Twitter. Like you don't know all these people existed, right? Like I would never know that you existed and you run like a VA business and cleaning and whatnot if I didn't see your Twitter. And it opens up a whole new world of people that you just didn't know existed, which is so cool. But moving on here, wanted to get into the last big question that I have here. So I do write a weekly newsletter called 3 Ideas on Sunday, where I basically put out a new business idea every single week. And in the business idea, I'll say, what the business is, the customers I would go after, how I would obtain those customers, and potentially how I'd scale it. So would love to get, a business idea that you have that you're not working on right now. Maybe you will in the future, but something that you think would be really cool to work on.
Yeah. So this is something I've talked about on Twitter a little bit, but I haven't made the time to do it, and I probably won't. So somebody else should go do this. There's these companies, and it only works in certain markets. They have to be more affluent markets, and they have to be, it's not gonna work everywhere. And it also probably depends on your labor laws and all these kinds of different things. So, take that into consideration when you're doing your like business analysis and trying to make a plan.
Yeah.
But dog scooping, like dog poop scooping businesses, actually can make a bunch of money. Because what you essentially end up doing is hiring all of this part-time help to go out there and scoop dog poop. Now, at first, like the unit economics aren't that good, but as you get more and more route density, it's all a route density play. It's a lot like lawn care. The only difference between it and lawn care is that like there's no overhead basically, because you don't have any lawnmowers, you don't have any like gas is a thing, so you have to figure that out. So either you're gonna have to pay your people for mileage, or you're gonna have to pay for their gas or whatever. But you can literally start doing this on the side, and getting people's attention, offering the opportunity to like, hey, we'll scoop up your dog crap so you don't have to take care of that. Like I think like a young person doing this could like, within a couple of years be making $100,000 a year like profit doing this. And really early on, like you can, especially if you're young, like you got friends that just want like part-time flexible job. And so like, if they can get to it in the morning, if they can get to the afternoon or the evening, it doesn't really matter, as long as they hit their routes. So you've got like the cool thing where it's like, there's lots of people that want like these little part-time jobs. And then you can also it's kind of like flexible, right? Like a lot of people like to do DoorDash and stuff as their side hustle. Well, this is like a great side hustle because, like they can do it kind of whenever they want, as long as they do it that day. The other thing about it is like with lawn care, if it rains, like you can't mow, and it's like a huge deal because you have to like change all your schedule and everything. With this, it's not that dramatic. Like if your dog poop doesn't get picked like the exact day, you can kind of like shift things around, and people aren't like, oh no, this is like terrible that they didn't come on a Wednesday when they normally come on a Wednesday. Like people don't really care as long as you do it. And it's not like house cleaning in the sense that you don't have to go in their home. And so there's a lot less like security and things that you need to do. One thing that you have to be careful is like you gotta, as far as like safety reasons, like you gotta make sure that the dogs are like, they have to be caged up or they have to be on a leash or something, because like you don't want any of your employees to get bit by a dog. But I love this business model because I actually personally know a couple people doing multiple six figures in profit, working not that many hours a week, running businesses doing this.
Really?
So I think, especially if over time, it kind of compounds. And I think somebody could totally do this like as a side hustle and grow it to a significant amount of revenue. Like I said, not every market can do this. You can't do it in like small towns. It's not going to work, right? But if you go to DC, if you go to like, I'm sure that like Dallas probably has people that do this. Different things like that, different cities like that. It can definitely work really well.
Totally. What areas are your friends doing it in already? Like
I probably shouldn't say because I don't.
Can you say like the state or whatnot?
Look, I mean, really just any affluent area, basically. Like that's what I would look at. Like look at average incomes, and then you're going to focus on certain neighborhoods, right? So every city also has like, these are the neighborhoods that you really want to hit, like the ones that you want to canvas. Even when you talk about marketing and stuff like that, it's like, putting up signage like in certain neighborhoods because you're going for density. So you want to hit certain areas super, super hard, right? And then you go to the next neighborhood and hit it super, super hard, right? So that hopefully kind of like you want to, because you make the more money, the more route density you have, the more money you make because it's less time driving.
Yeah, totally. It's super interesting. My grandma actually sent me a newspaper cutout, and it was like a business in, I want to say it was New York, doing 500,000, doing exactly this. And so immediately I was like, what do the unit economics break out to, right? Because I'm thinking, how much is someone willing to pay? And then how long does it take, right? All of that type of stuff. What do you think the unit economics sort of look like on that?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna pull this up for you because I have there's a franchise that does this, and they actually list their pricing online. So give me just a second. Let's just get your quote.
Yep.
Okay, so what they said is up to 4 dogs included for for 3 times a week service, it's $15 each time they visit. So it's $45 a week if they come 3 times a week, which is like, if you think about that, $45 a week, $90 every 2 weeks, about $180 a month. Like that's not a bad gig.
Yeah,
that is 12 visits. So you're not like I said, like you have to have the route density. You basically have to be able to like hop out of your vehicle, do it in 5 or 10 minutes, be at the next place in, 5 minutes, like less than 5 minutes, right? Couple minute drive, hit the next place, couple minute drive, hit the next place. But like, I mean, if you can hit 4 places in an hour, you're billing at, $60 an hour. You pay your employee 30% of that, right? You're going to pay them $20 an hour. They can get a good side hustle going there. And you're billing at a good rate. Like I said, it's all going to be about that route density. So,
yeah, that's super interesting. So if you had to go start this tomorrow, what would you start with? So like, how would you go get your first customer? And what would any of your startup costs be, right? Like, would you get a website and start that way, or would you just go door to door?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is definitely set up my Google My Business on my website. I would do something super basic as far as websites go. Google My Business. I probably have a couple friends like, excuse me. I'd probably have a couple friends like post reviews. I would like pick up their dog crap or something and, have them take pictures and be like, oh, wow, this person's amazing, right? Very professional, right? So get some of those Google reviews to kind of get that initial traction. I would, build your website to help you look professional, like I said, and then that hyper local marketing, so yard signs, chalk, any of those kinds of things like that guerrilla marketing that costs you almost nothing to do, to just like really hit some neighborhoods, right? People call them bandit signs. Those are those like signs that everyone hates, but they're like the little rectangular ones that you see on street corners. Those work really well. Like that's just the truth of it. Like they work really well at getting people's attention, and that's a great way for low cost to stick in the ground and get people's attention. Especially like if you want to hit one geographic area, right, where it's like somebody's on their drive home, into their neighborhood, and they see the sign 4 times. It's like they're going to get the phone number and call you. And I would get like a Google Voice phone number or open phone, or use one of those phone systems, set up a separate phone number for the business, right? Leave a super friendly voicemail, like that in case you don't get to the phone. Like I would set up some kind of like super easy booking online, or honestly, maybe I would just do a contact form because like, at first you're not going to know exactly what information you need, so you're going to have to ask them and kind of figure that out. But I'd also just go copy all the competitors and see what the best people are doing.
Yeah.
Go look at go find the dog pooper scooper businesses that has 200, 300 reviews. Just copy everything that they're doing. So.
Yeah. And when do you think you'd hire your first employee, or do you think you just do that right?
How much money you have, right? I think it depends how much money you have, but I mean, early on there's going to be like some costs, right? Because you got to have like general liability insurance, like workers' compensation insurance, like once you start having employees and stuff. So if you do it on your own, you kind of can like get along without that for a little while because you're not going to like sue yourself, right? So that helps. I'm not a lawyer, so don't take legal advice here, but you can kind of get along without doing a lot of that stuff. But like if I had a little bit of money, I'd probably hire somebody right away, right? I'd hire my little brother or my cousin or my friend or my high school buddy, right? The same way, like I would honestly just approach it very similarly to how people build lawn care businesses, like the residential ones.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of podcasts and resources around that business. So you could just take those and then like just take that blueprint and stick it on the
same thing.
One. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Honestly, this is the best idea that I've had on the podcast yet, I think. I'm only 3 episodes in, but this is definitely like the best one because it's super actionable. It's like someone could literally go start this tonight, right? And start generating calls through Google My Business.
Look, man, you're not going to get super rich doing this, but I think everybody could benefit a lot from just like starting a simple business. And like, let's say you do it for a couple of years, you make $100,000, you don't want to do it anymore. You either sell that route to somebody else that does the same thing, or you just close the business. It's just fine. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, right? So yeah.
Totally. And it's got that recurring revenue that everyone loves, right? Like that's what sells people.
I mean, when you have labor, it's super important because you have to be able to continue to feed them, right? So
Yeah.
That's the one issue about having a one-off service, is that as things go, ebb and flow, you're going to have to cover your overhead, right? So this would be able to, cover your overhead. And honestly, it's one of those services where, like, if somebody gets this and they like it, they're never going to leave you. Like it would be like one of the last things that people are going to get rid of. People, like, I don't have a dog, but from what I can tell and what people tell me, not a fun part of having a dog. So.
Totally. It's definitely something that if you have a dog, you're definitely willing to pay for, especially if you have a big enough yard or in a affluent enough area, right? Like, it's one of those things. It's like now that I have this, I don't want to clean that up anymore. Like, no way, especially if it's, only a certain amount a month. But awesome. Thanks so much for that idea. That's all I got. Anything you want to plug or any advice you want to leave us with?
No, man, I would say just you check out elevateanddelegate.com, or you can follow me on Twitter. It's just my name, Bryant Suellentrop, or you can look up Slowly Business. I'm trying out TikTok, so we'll see how that goes. So if you want to see me make a fool of myself, go check that out. But if anybody needs to hire some offshore teammates, let us know. We'd be super happy to help.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.